There are days when the 49ers faithful can feel their hearts race, and today is one of those. We've got a hot lead on help for the secondary, a real one, a return that could reshape the offense, a new energy in the locker room, and a direct message from the front office that might shake the league. Nothing is officially decided, but the signs are strong, the noise behind the scenes is loud, and the NFC board could flip. Would you bet on a bold move now, or wait one more week? You won't believe what we've got today. So sit down, drop a like, and let's dive right in. Even with a packed injury room and a list of aches and pains that could fill a chapter, the 49ers are 4-1 and leading the NFC West. There's one thing, though, that nags. After 5 weeks, the defense still hasn't recorded an interception. Odd for a group this aggressive. It hasn't hurt the standings, but playoff games are decided on the margins, and takeaways are January fuel. This is where a surgical move could turn an already strong roster into the favorite. There's an ideal partner on the other side of the conference, and the line is open. The Jets, stuck at 0-5 and looking toward the midterm, might unlock the missing piece for this secondary. The name that flips the switch? Tony Adams. A versatile safety with a leader's presence, the speed to patrol the deep part of the field, and most importantly, the instincts to arrive at the ball without making silly penalties. Team-friendly money, final year of his deal, and a win-now profile that fits our window. At market price, something like a 5th-round pick with conditional sweeteners, you can align interests without bleeding the draft. Why Adams? Because he checks 2 clear boxes: range on the back end and communication. He can erase the post, close that late crosser, and keep the lid on when offenses try to stretch routes. This isn't just theory. Over the last 2 seasons, he's piled up well over 160 tackles, at least 3 interceptions, and breakups in high-leverage moments. There was an emblematic play against an undefeated NFC opponent when an anticipatory read turned into a return down to the doorstep and sealed the win in the 4th quarter. That's the kind of instinct that flips big games. On top of that, Adams accelerates the learning curve for our young defensive backs. Picture the rotation getting lighter, fewer extended snaps for rookies, more freedom to disguise coverages, more confidence to bring that delayed nickel pressure. He's timed up blitzes against us recently and showed he can get home. With our pass rush forcing hurried decisions, that synergy could unlock the first takeaways of the year, and as a bonus, improve the offense's starting field position. Every trade has risk. Without an extension, it could be a rental, and adapting to the defensive language usually takes a week or 2. Even so, the cost-benefit is tempting. We're not talking about flipping the scheme, but adding a piece that fixes a specific point without freezing the cap or burning premium picks. There's another not-so-minor bonus: special teams. Adams has the temperament to cover kickoffs and punts, which matters when injuries force weekly adjustments. And there's the psychological effect. When the front office signals we're all in, the locker room gains a step. The message to the NFC is crystal clear. Even as leaders, San Francisco wants more. So here's the provocation. Should John Lynch pull the trigger now, before the competition wakes up, or wait one more week to read the market? Because honestly, this surgical bet feels like the spark the defense needs to start deciding games again in January. When George Kittle went down in week 1, it felt like the football gods were testing the fan base's heartbeat. Hamstring, indefinite timeline, the kind of news that hushes Levi's Stadium. But the script flipped, and nobody expected the improbable hero to wear 89 without the name Kittle. Jake Tonges stepped in, shouldered the load, and started writing one of the more curious stories of the season. Now, with the All-Pro inching back, a question arises that could reshape the roster. Keep the understudy who became a trusted piece, or use him as currency to raise the defense's ceiling. Over the last few weeks, Tonges has embodied a player who understands the moment. Against Seattle, that late touchdown was more than a pretty play. It was the spark that kept panic from setting in right out of the gate. Since then, steady production, chemistry with Purdy, clean routes, and one detail the staff loves: he blocks. When the offense needed to rebalance the run game, he answered. When blitzes closed the windows, he became the pressure release. Against the Jaguars, 58 yards and another score. Versus the Rams, 11 targets, 7 catches, another touchdown, and the poise of a veteran. Not bad for someone who was on the roster bubble not long ago. And that's exactly why the front office faces a dilemma. With Kittle nearing a return and the coaching staff choosing prudence to avoid a setback, Tonges becomes a rising value asset. Teams like Washington and Green Bay have checked the market for versatile tight ends. If the 49ers want to fortify a defensive line that's been patched together weekly, a package with Tonges could bring back a solid front 7 piece. He's on a cheap deal, he's trending up, and for a contender, he's the kind of player whose price tag can spike fast. There's another side though: security. Nobody wants to imagine another hamstring tweak for Kittle, but the history exists. In that scenario, moving on from Tonges would be flirting with fate. He's proven he can produce, he knows the playbook, and he already has timing with the quarterback. In a league where next man up defines campaigns, keeping a reserve who delivers starter-level production can be the trump card in December. The locker room vibe shows how much respect he's earned. The coaching staff has publicly praised his professionalism and focus in offensive meetings, the kind of compliment that rarely comes out without purpose. So what now? John Lynch is known for calculated moves and for knowing when to sell sell high. If Tonges becomes part of a trade, it's an all-in tilt toward the now, sacrificing offensive depth for defensive impact. If he stays, it underscores a mentality of a united group ready for any hit. One thing's certain, nobody expected to be debating Jake Tonges' future in October, but he earned that right on the field. And in the NFL's chess match, decisions like this separate teams that want to compete from teams that want to win it all. And that's not even the most curious part of the day. When the front office announced a new quarterback joining the roster, plenty of people raised an eyebrow. Why bring in someone coming off highs and lows with a reputation in rebuild mode and questions about confidence? It took only a few weeks for the answer to show up on the field. Signing the new backup was a masterstroke by John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. The cherry on top came as the locker room rallied around an old friend, a receiver who returned with a hunger for redemption and contagious energy. The reunion between those two is redefining what second chance means in the NFL. Kendrick Bourne and the new quarterback worked together before, in a setting where every mistake became a headline and every smile felt like a risk. Now in Santa Clara, their chemistry is blooming in a way that feels symbolic. Against the Rams, the duo rediscovered that lost shine. Bourne with 10 receptions, 142 yards, and a dominant presence. The quarterback banged up but gritty, sustaining drives and showing command. It wasn't just a win on the scoreboard, it was a statement that Shanahan's system can rehabilitate doubted talent and turn pressure into performance. Bourne put the culture shift simply but powerfully. Here you can be who you are, while staying professional. That line resonated with the fan base. In San Francisco, the culture doesn't suffocate players, it shapes them. It's different from the rigidity they lived before. Less uniform, more trust. That matters when we're talking offensive creativity. The quarterback is playing loose, rediscovering the joy of competing. You can see it in practice, in celebrations, in how he talks to teammates. That weight on his shoulders seems to have fallen away, and it's contagious. Players are talking about new energy and a lighter vibe. Shanahan, a master at crafting systems that maximize talent, is tapping into this new fit. The offense looks more dynamic, with quick crossing concepts and smart use of play action. Bourne, always an emotional engine, is now the locker room's mirror. Joy, effort, resilience. And the quarterback, once labeled limited, is proving narratives can change when you provide structure and belief. What's happening goes beyond a career rehab. It's a reminder of the 49ers' DNA. Believe in human talent and pull the best out of it. When a doubted player blossoms here, the message echoes across the league and inside the building. No one's done until the season is. That's the franchise's spirit. And the fans feel it. Social feeds are full of comments like, "This team has soul and they're finally playing with joy again." That's not a coincidence. Culture weighs as much as scheme. And what we're watching is proof. Two stories converging, a duo reborn in red and gold, and a roster that's finding the lightness of a group that believes in the impossible. If you think that's inspiring, hold on, because the next front office move might be the boldest since the Christian McCaffrey trade. It all happened fast. One play, a heavy silence in the stadium, and the diagnosis nobody wanted. Nick Bosa, done for the year. A direct hit to the defense's heart and the fans' confidence. And as always, the NFL clock doesn't stop. Within 48 hours came the speculation, the insiders, the 2020 comparisons. Only this time, the feeling is different. The team is competitive, and John Lynch looks ready to counterpunch. The GM isn't a seat-of-the-pants guy, and anyone who's followed his path knows, when he gives an interview and lets a line slip, it's because something big is moving behind the curtain. The NBC Sports conversation was revealing. Lynch spoke about earning the right to go get someone, a line that read like code. Translation, if the team keeps winning, a high-impact addition could land in Santa Clara before the deadline, and not just any name. The one most floated in the rumor mill is Trey Hendrickson, an all-pro caliber pass rusher in a complicated dynamic with Cincinnati's front office since last offseason. Big contract, uncertain environment, massive talent. It checks the boxes of the aggressive moves that have defined the 49ers in recent years. Why the urgency? Because even with a good rotation, the scheme lost its emotional anchor. Bosa was the guy who changed opponents' plans just by lining up. Without him, rival quarterbacks gain precious seconds, and in the NFL, seconds are eternities. The team still leads the division, but you can see the secondary and linebackers working harder to compensate for the dip in front-end pressure. So here's the dilemma. Keep betting on the current group's versatility, with young players like Mikael Williams and CJ West growing by the week, or invest big to keep a small crack from widening as the schedule tightens. Recent history shows Lynch isn't afraid. That was the case in 2022 when he landed Christian McCaffrey mid-season and flipped the offense for the better. Result, a run to the conference title game. The message is clear. If the opportunity arises and the team stays at the top, the GM will attack the market. He's even said he won't hesitate to move high-value picks for immediate impact. It's the philosophy of someone who understands Super Bowl windows don't last forever. One detail isn't getting enough attention. The vibe in the building is us against the world. Every win tastes like defiance. Brock Purdy's been gutting it out through hits, the offense tweaks the plan weekly, and the defense, shorthanded and all, remains one of the league's most disciplined. When that spirit meets a bold market swing, the effect on opponents is devastating. The fan base is split. Some want full aggression, go get the monster from Cincinnati, and close the tab. Others prefer caution, don't sacrifice the future. Deep down, both sides agree on one thing. This roster is too good to let the season slip through a hole in the defensive line. With the current record and the posture this group keeps showing, it feels like only a matter of time before the front office moves. And when it does, don't expect something small. We're talking about a front office that's learned to turn injuries into motivation and obstacles into fuel. Maybe the specific name is still under wraps, but the direction is clear. San Francisco will attack the market, and Lynch's message landed. The 49ers aren't just weathering the storm, they're gearing up to dominate after it. Deep breath, faithful, we've come out of a turbulent week stronger. A safety who fits like a glove would fix the takeaway gap. A Tonges has become a real asset, either to solidify depth behind Kittle or to unlock a piece up front. The reunion between the new QB and Bourne showed how Santa Clara's culture revives careers, and the front office's response to Bosa's absence points to smart aggression. What move would you make today to push the 49ers one step higher? Drop a comment, hit like, share this with a fellow member of the Niner gang, and let's ride together all the way to January.